Sophia Carter walked into the luxurious lobby of Titan Enterprises, holding a mop in one hand and a bucket in the other. Her dark-toned skin glowed in the soft light of the large chandelier above her head, her natural curls framing her face with quiet determination. Dressed in the simple, unassuming uniform of a cleaning staff, her ID badge clipped to her chest, Sophia's keen eyes scanned her surroundings. She seemed just another invisible worker in the structure, large corporate organization. But don't be fooled by appearances. Sophia isn't just here to clean up. She's here to rewrite the rules of the game you're about to witness. The story of a woman who defied all expectations, a woman who took control of the corporate empire from the very beginning, before we took the plunge. If you're ready to see what happens when the power is taken back from those who underestimate us, hit the like button and subscribe. Come to the channel for more inspiring stories like this. You don't want to miss how this story plays out. To the busy executives in their tailored suits rushing past, Sophia was invisible, just another background figure who blended into the scenery. And that suited her perfectly. They had no idea that the woman pushing a cleaning cart had quietly and strategically positioned herself to dismantle the very structure they believed to be untouchable. Today, Sophia wasn't here to scrub floors or polish surfaces. She was here for something much greater, something no one could anticipate. Beneath the plain uniform and humble tools was a quiet confidence, the mark of someone who knew her worth and was ready to take what was rightfully hers. Today, the game would begin to change. The stark divide of the corporate hierarchy at Titan Enterprises was on full display. Lower-level employees moved through the halls with heads down, their hurried steps reflecting a desire to remain unnoticed. They exchanged polite nods with Sophia Carter as they passed, though their smiles were brief and dismissive, as if offering acknowledgement out of habit rather than respect. On the other hand, the executives strode confidently through the space, their tailored suits and air of untouchable authority marking them as the supposed architects of the company's success. To them, people like Sophia were invisible background figures in the grand play of corporate life. But what none of them knew was that Sophia Carter was not here to clean. Beneath the surface of her calm demeanor and unassuming uniform was a woman who had outsmarted the very system they believed they controlled. Over the past several years, Sophia had meticulously and discreetly acquired the majority shares of Titan Enterprises. Her moves had been quiet, deliberate, and far from the spotlight, a strategy designed to keep her intentions hidden until the moment was right. Today, she was walking these halls not as an overlooked member of the cleaning staff, but as the true power behind the company. Her goal was not only to understand the environment from the ground up, but also to dismantle the arrogance that had taken root at the top. The very executives who strutted past her without a second glance had no idea that the woman they dismissed so easily now held their futures in her hands. Sophia had turned invisibility into her greatest strength, and she was ready to wield her power in a way they would never forget. Sophia Carter paused for a moment as she wheeled her cleaning cart through the bustling corridors of Titan Enterprises, her mind drifting back to the journey that had brought her here. Raised by her mother, a woman who tirelessly worked 2 jobs as a cleaner to provide for her family, Sophia had witnessed firsthand the struggles of being undervalued and unseen. Her mother's strength and resilience left a lasting impression, teaching Sophia the importance of recognizing her worth, even when the world refused to acknowledge it. Those early lessons shaped Sophia's determination to break free from the cycle of invisibility imposed by society. Through relentless hard work, she earned her place in college and later business school, mastering the rules of a system that wasn't designed for someone like her. She had spent years preparing, all the while keeping one goal in mind: to take control of her destiny and rewrite the narrative for herself and others like her. As Sophia moved past a group of employees, dismissive whispers reached her ears. "Have you seen the new cleaning lady?" one receptionist murmured to another. She probably won't last long. They never do, came the casual reply, the tone dripping with indifference. The words stung, but didn't surprise her. Sophia knew all too well how people like her were written off without a second thought. Her grip on the cart tightened slightly, but she maintained her composure. These moments, these assumptions, only fueled her resolve. They thought she was just a janitor, another invisible worker in the corporate machine. And that was exactly what she wanted them to believe. In their underestimation lay her greatest advantage, and she was prepared to use it to dismantle their illusions of superiority, one calculated move at a time. Sophia Carter moved through the upper floors of Titan Enterprises with quiet determination, her cleaning cart rolling steadily beside her. As she wiped the windows outside the executive boardroom, snippets of conversation drifted her way, the voices carrying an air of unshakable confidence. Inside the glass-walled room, the company's leadership team sat around an imposing table, their polished appearances and self-assured demeanor showcasing their belief in their untouchable status. Nathan Grant, the CEO, leaned back in his chair, his silver hair slicked neatly, a smirk playing on his lips. "Hard work pays off, doesn't it?" he remarked, lifting his glass as though toasting his own brilliance. His comment was met with laughter from the other executives. James, the CFO, added with a chuckle, "More like smart work. We know how to play the game." Richard, the head of marketing, leaned back smugly, chiming in, "It's not like that janitor downstairs could even dream of being in our shoes. Scrubbing floors is as close as she'll ever get." The group erupted into laughter, their voices echoing through the luxurious space. Sophia, standing just outside, heard every word. Their arrogance was palpable, their condescension cutting, but her expression didn't falter. She simply continued her work, her face calm and composed, as though oblivious to their remarks. Inside, however, she was filing away every word, every smirk, and every insult. These were the people who believed their success was entirely self-made, unaware of the countless invisible hands people like her mother that had supported their empire. They thought of her as nothing more than a nameless worker, someone whose existence didn't warrant their notice. But Sophia knew better. Their ignorance, their dismissal of her, was her greatest asset. It allowed her to move unnoticed, to observe, to plan. Every moment of their arrogance only strengthened her resolve. The executives laughed, believing they were secure at the top, but they had no idea that the quiet woman outside the boardroom wielded more power than all of them combined. Sophia wasn't there to play their game. She was there to rewrite the rules entirely, and soon their smug laughter would turn into stunned silence. As Sophia Carter wheeled her cart through the corridors of Titan Enterprises, she passed the break room, where two interns stood huddled in quiet conversation. Their voices carried a mix of nervousness and frustration, drawing Sophie's attention. "I can't afford to mess up," one of them said, her tone heavy with worry. "It feels like every move I make is under a microscope." The other intern, a young black woman with neatly styled braids, nodded solemnly. "Yeah," she replied, "especially for people like us. It's like we have to work twice as hard just to prove we belong here." Sophia paused near the door, her heart tightening at the familiar struggle reflected in the intern's words. She remembered her own early days when ambition burned brightly but was constantly met with barriers and subtle reminders of her place. Taking a deep breath, Sophia decided to engage. She stepped closer, her voice soft but steady. "Don't let them get to you," she said, catching the young woman's attention. Their eyes met, and for a moment an unspoken understanding passed between them. The intern hesitated, then offered a small, appreciative smile. "Thank you," she said, her voice tinged with both surprise and gratitude. "It's just hard sometimes, you know. They act like they run the world." Sophia nodded knowingly, her own journey flashing through her mind. "They don't know everything," she replied, her tone both warm and resolute. Sometimes, the ones who think they have all the answers are the ones who need to learn the most. Her words were meant not just as encouragement, but as a reflection of the quiet power she knew the intern and others like her possessed. As Sophia walked away, she couldn't help but smile. The moment reminded her of her own beginnings, of the drive that had propelled her to where she stood today. Soon, the world would see what that determination could achieve. Sophia Carter stepped confidently into the boardroom of Titan Enterprises, the quiet click of the door barely registering with the executives seated around the table. At first, no one looked up, assuming she was just there to clean, as usual. But instead of heading to the windows or picking up her mop, Sophia stood tall, her presence commanding. Slowly, the CEO, Nathan Grant, glanced up, his brows furrowing in impatience. "Can we help you?" he asked curtly, his tone dismissive. Sophia met his gaze without flinching. "Actually, I'm here for the meeting," she said calmly. The room fell silent, her words hanging in the air as the executives exchanged confused glances. Nathan's frown deepened. "What meeting?" he demanded. Reaching into her pocket, Sophia retrieved a neatly folded document and placed it on the table in front of him. "The one where I inform you that, as of this morning, I am the majority shareholder of Titan Enterprises," she replied, her voice unwavering. Nathan's face drained of color as he grabbed the paper, his hands shaking. His eyes darted across the words, searching for an explanation. But the truth was undeniable. Around the table, the other executives sat in stunned silence, their once confident demeanors crumbling. The power they had assumed was untouchable now rested firmly in the hands of the woman they had so easily overlooked. Sophia Carter stood at the head of the table, her presence commanding as the executives of Titan Enterprises stared at her in stunned silence. Nathan Grant, the CEO, finally managed to stammer. How did this happen?" His disbelief mirrored the expressions of his colleagues, who were struggling to process the reality unfolding before them. Sophia's voice was calm but firm as she addressed them. "While you were busy dismissing people like me, I was making moves quietly, strategically. Every decision, every step I took was calculated to bring me to this moment." She glanced around the room, her gaze unwavering. "You underestimated me, just as you've underestimated so many others who keep this company running." She crossed her arms, her tone steady yet resolute. "This company has been built on arrogance and a disregard for the very people who make it successful. That ends today. My vision for Titan Enterprises is simple: accountability, respect, and equity for every employee, from the boardroom to the janitor's closet." The room remained silent, the weight of her words sinking in. The executives, who had always assumed their power was unshakable, now faced a new reality, one shaped by the very person they had ignored. Sophia allowed a small, knowing smile to form. "This is no longer your game to play, it's mine. And things are about to change for the better." If this story inspired you, make sure to subscribe, like, and comment below. Tell us how you'd take control of your destiny, and stay tuned for more stories that remind us all of the power we hold when we refuse to be invisible.